Hello Internet, so I'm just arrived at a really beautiful resort place for the so-called CFO Forum, where I get to discuss it with CFOs cultural issues. So the difference between startups and corporates, a topic I kind of quite like a lot, so it should be interesting. Fun fact is also I always get to go to these super nice hotels for 2 hours, so probably gonna stare at a super nice swimming pool from the outside and like, and then head off. Not complaining, as always, just stating the obvious. So let's see, should be fun topic. See you later. So that was truly fascinating. I'm just leaving the so-called CFO Forum, where about 180 CFOs come together to discuss whatever CFOs do once a year. And it was quite fascinating. I was invited there to be part of a panel, kind of the typical corporate meets startup culture. And that was fascinating. It was kind of fascinating to discuss with really people from a different culture and different background, why they do what they do and how it works. And specifically, taking up the startup perspective and trying to explain to them why we do what we do. And every single time I have discussions, it's really fascinating because they do always have quite a different picture of what startups are and what they're not, and I find it's really interesting. So needless to say, a bit of a tricky start, but whenever I try and go into these discussions, I always try and refer and explain what a startup actually is. And I find it quite interesting to say, you know, it's not some funny weird people in a co-working space doing really weird and crazy stuff and whatever, but saying, look, the startup is just a phase. It's a phase where we try and validate hypotheses, or in other words, ideas, if they work or not, and while doing so we try and be as cost efficient as possible, meaning bootstrapping, usually, but obviously it's high risk because we don't know what we do, and if we do find out what we do, well, then we go flat out. So really interesting day, interesting discussion, real clash of cultures, but in a good way. And personally, I think that something you should always do is, so if people have different opinions than you do, don't look down on them or whatever, but have a discussion with them. Try and find out why they think what they think. Sometimes you can agree to disagree, sometimes you can actually agree on something. But it was really fun because I learned so much every single time. And obviously you make a lot of good business contacts. So yeah, now back to Vienna. And one more thing I find extremely important, is kind of whole startup and corporate discussion, to stress the fact that it's not about being right or wrong, but it's just about having different viewpoints, different objectives, missions, phases you're in, and doing what you do. And I always kind of like the whole analogy of saying, well, look, a startup essentially is like a rally driver, you know. You kind of know it's going to go straight ahead, and a couple 100 meters is going to go to the right, and potentially you're in 5th gear, but you don't know, well, if it's snowy or not, which is one thing. And a corporate is a lot more like, let's say, a circuit race driver, you know, like a Formula 1 car or something, where you've done hundreds and thousands of laps on the same circuit. You have a lot of data on what you do. When you get into the car, it's more like finding incremental improvements. But on both sides you need to be a very talented driver, and both sides you need to take risk, and on both sides it requires a lot of dedication to being successful. So it's not about saying who's better or worse, but just understanding the fact that both worlds are quite different. And I actually even believe that, let's say, a Formula 1 driver can become a lot better if they also have a go in a rally car, and vice versa. So it also requires understanding both worlds. But the danger thing is when, well, one world just adapts a technique from the other one without understanding the implications. So imagine you're running a large corporation and you heard, well, startups are highly agile and super risk aggressive and so on, and you suddenly take these same wild decisions as we do, we startup founders. Well, then wild stuff happens. And yeah, anyhow, I think I'm rambling a bit, but you get the idea. So yeah.